Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. Today we'll be doing a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh history and covering without a doubt the most infamous and arguably worst ban list in history, March 2012. This is without a doubt one of the most discussed ban lists I can ever remember, and usually those discussions were laced with scathing criticism of Konami, and it's for one major reason. It was the first time in history where it was glaringly obvious that the list was made with the primary objective being to get players to move towards newly released archetypes, i.e. profit, buy our cards and forget about the old decks because we don't really make money off of those anymore. Now, to understand why this list was so controversial, you first have to understand the format. We were about 3 sets into the Inzektor era, and once Konami decided to fix the stupid temporary ruling of XC materials actually being on the field, yes, that was a real thing from Kevin Tewart. It was kind of laughable, but yeah, it actually happened. The entire XC mechanic was kind of off to a rocky start. Generation Force and Photon Shockwave didn't really give us any all-time great XCs outside of the Evolvers, but to play those, you were locked into dinosaurs, and while Dino Rabbit was without a doubt one of the best decks in the entire game, it felt like really the only true XC deck that was like top tier. So a lot of people felt kind of unimpressed with the first couple of Zexal sets, and they decided to hell with this. I'll just keep playing my Plant Synchro deck that I know and love. It had proven its dominance by Booker by Crook, and it had already been able to outlast the likes of Six Samurai, Gravekeepers, Karakuri, and other amazing decks from the 5Ds era. Plus, people already had those cards, so they didn't have to invest another $300 potentially into a deck. Then Konami released the third set of the Zexal era, Order of Chaos, and it was a game changer that flipped Yu-Gi-Oh on its head. One of the biggest reasons that players love Plant Synchro was because of the deck's ability to grind extremely well. Cards like Reborn Tengu, Spore, Global, they could all be used multiple times throughout a duel, and with Pot of Avarice legal, you seemingly never actually ran out of resources. Then Konami simultaneously released 2 Juggernauts and Wind-Ups and Inzektors that both excelled at ending the game at a lightning pace. Take Inzektors, this is a deck that could wipe your board clean with a simple 2-card combo, and their OTK potential was extremely high because of Gigamantis. This is still a format where Heavy Storm was legal, guys, so it really felt like no matter what board you actually made, you were never truly safe from their wrath. In fact, the complete and utter second death in terms of playability of the renowned Thunder King Ryo, which had become a significant powerhouse in the 5Ds era, was 100% attributed to this archetype. But even possibly scarier than that were Wind-Ups and their completely devastating 5-card hand loop that essentially ended the game turn 1. If you've ever heard the term Wind-Up loop, it's referring to this play. All you needed was a single tour guide or any level 3 monster and an instant fusion and a minimum of 3 of your opponent's 5 opening cards. Yeah, they could just kiss those goodbye, they were gone. But if a Wind-Up player actually opened with Magician or Pot of Avarice, your entire hand was just donezo. This set and these 2 archetypes led to a seismic shift in the meta, where Plant Synchro's ability to carefully try and out-resource the opponent and its slow and steady wins the race playstyle was now seen as a huge liability because Inzektors and Wind-Ups could just end the game consistently within the first couple of turns. When players learned of the potency of these decks, the once dominant Plant Synchro started to really feel the pressure, and it fell on some hard times. In its prime, I would say that the deck could easily take half of a regional top 8, but that soon dwindled to lucky if it even snuck in at all. This was most apparent at YCS Atlanta 2012, where the mighty and once dominant Plant Synchro at 100% full strength took exactly 0 spots in the top 32. For most of the Yu-Gi-Oh community, this was a clear sign that Plant Synchro just couldn't keep up with the likes of Inzektors, Dino Rabbits, and Wind-Ups, although some weren't even really that shocked because they had realized that these new Zexal decks were just superior. The real shock would come with the 2012 March ban list. In a complete shock for the ages, rather than hitting the field-destroying Inzektors or even just getting rid of the wind-up loop alone as a courtesy to the players, Konami decided they had 2 clear targets for the March 2012 ban list. The first, of course, being Plant Synchro, and they absolutely gutted that deck. Spore banned, Glow-Up Ball banned, Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier banned, and Reborn Tengu to semi-limited status. The deck was made unplayable literally overnight. And then the second was is, confusingly enough, TG Agents, a deck that, might I add, never even topped a single YCS in the entire TCG, but Konami still saw fit to limit TG Striker and Agent of Mystery Earth, thus killing this deck as well. It's because of actions like this that players immediately started to accuse the list of having the primary goal of forcing players onto the newer Zexal archetypes. Now, I will say Konami did do some minor adjustments that actually made sense, like giving Lightsworn and Six Samurai a card here and there to try and make them a little more competitive, but it was pretty obvious from anyone who had eyes that the big guns were used to basically take out anything Synchro related, and the fact that TG Stun actually won YCS Atlanta in a huge shocker, this was almost like a gift from heaven to Konami because it let them scapegoat the deck where they could possibly have justification for their pretty idiotic limitation of TG Striker, which, let's be honest guys, was never actually a problem card. In fact, the criticism of the March 2012 ban list was so bad from the community that Konami even officially addressed it on their blog, where they tried to give their reasons for their decisions, but it wasn't met with satisfaction, and quite frankly, those explanations were almost as bad as the actual list itself. I, to this day, have never seen so many players furious by a ban list, and a lot of it was justified. We had to live with the wind-up loop for another 6 months, and it seemed like Konami really just kind of scapegoated a couple of decks so that they could force players into playing the new Zexal decks. So there it is, the dreaded story of the most infamous ban list in Yu-Gi-Oh history, March 2012. Maybe some of you guys are newer players, maybe some of you guys were taking a break, or you just don't know this story. It quite honestly is probably the most corrupt thing Konami has ever done in relation to Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's actually a fascinating story, and as I was kind of reminiscing as I was going through and doing a little bit of the research, I was like, oh my god, I still can't believe they actually did that. I'm sorry that this is a scripted video. I don't generally do scripted videos unless it's for like my top 10s, but I did want to make sure that all my thoughts were kind of comprised and that I got everything perfectly in this video, because I did want to put a little more effort into it than my normal videos, because it's an amazing story. Like honestly, the March 2012 ban list it's a really good story. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already. Subscribing makes life happy.